Ina, hello. Good morning. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
So we're talking today here about Eco Wave Power. Can you tell the group a little bit about what you do before we dive in here?
Of course. So our company developed a unique innovative technology for generation of clean electricity from ocean and sea waves. So basically we take floaters and we connect them to existing man-made structures such as piers, breakwaters, jetties, and other types of marine structures. And these floaters, they convert the movement of the water into clean electricity.
Okay, that's awesome. I know renewable energy is a huge topic in a variety of different forms. This seems amazing. You're literally taking the natural movement of the ocean and then converting that into electricity. Really, really awesome. Let's start with your recent financial performance. The quarterly results that you released recently, and your most recent quarter, there was strong growth in certain areas of the business. What do you attribute the success to here, and how do you plan to maintain that momentum going forward?
So I think that really what kind of created the most interest was our newest partnerships.
Mm-hmm.
So all our power stations that we're building right now are being done in collaboration with large scale entities. So on December 5th, in 3 days actually, we're opening the first grid connected power station in the history of Israel here in Jaffa port. Then right after that, in Q1 of 2025, we are planning to open our first US based power
Mm-hmm.
station in collaboration with Shell. Shell is investing 50% of the cost of the project, to be followed by a power station in Taiwan with Liantat, our partners there, and then the first commercial power station for EcoWave Power and for the world in the city of Porto in Portugal. So I think really we're having a very, very good momentum, and I really attribute kind of the success to the fact that EcoWave Power is actually executing wave energy projects. Until now, all wave energy companies that have been out there in the market were stuck for a really long time in kind of R&D and computerized simulation, and
Mm-hmm.
weren't really executing any projects. And EcoWave Power is taking a completely different approach, and we're all into execution.
Okay. Well, that's awesome. So speaking of execution, then, I mean, I know that the global energy transition is happening at a rapid pace, or at least trying to happen at a rapid pace. And I would imagine that you're going to be on top of that as well. How do you balance the need for scaling up while maintaining cost efficiency in your operation?
So I think actually that's something that EcoWave Power performs really well, because if you're seeing the difference between Q2 and Q3 report, in Q3 we were actually able to minimize our cost by 10%. Really minimization kind of costs while achieving so much progress is available due to our strategic partnerships. Most of our assets, which of course is the most expensive thing in our business, is the asset, is the construction cost of the power stations. They're not being funded from EcoWave Power balance sheet. They're being funded either in partnership, like I said, with EDF, with Shell, or we started kind of a new way of collaboration where we actually started selling first power stations to third parties. So the deal that we announced just in October with Taiwan, we're actually making it as turnkey. So they're buying the solution for us, and EcoWave Power is profiting on supplying the solution. And I really believe that in the short term, that's a great revenue stream for EcoWave Power. It enables us to be financially independent and not having to go to the market and raise additional funds. And it enables us to also get multiple projects out there faster, because the buyers of this technology are usually large scale connected, either energy firms, engineering firms, or otherwise. And that really enables us to get the licensing fast, the grid connection approval fast, the feed-in tariff for the energy fast. So then we're basically getting our presence out there in different locations around the world.
Okay, that's awesome. And you actually hit on something that I was going to ask you about raising cash. So really great to see that you don't really need to do that. You talked a lot about some of these partnerships that you have already. Could you share more about any of the partnerships or the collaborations that have been particularly good for you or particularly impactful to your financial performance or your technological developments?
Of course. So first of all, I will address your first part of the sentence. So EcoWave Power actually went public in July 2021. And it's important for me to say that since July 2021 and until now, which is December 2024, the company never went back to raise funds from the market. So we never diluted our shareholders. I think this is a big advantage in EcoWave Power, because we could really focus on what's important, which is the operational projects, the strategic partnerships, and on, and not really like, market related items. Now, regarding the partnerships that kind of create the biggest influence, I would definitely say our partnership with EDF Renewables. The reason for it having such a big influence is the fact that EDF, which is Électricité de France, the French national electrical company, they are the largest renewable energy producer in Europe. So for us, once we're finishing here the demonstration and the testing in Israel, we can also use their contacts and their kind of financial stability and so on in order to penetrate the European market. Another market that we're very interested in is the United States. In the United States, we have an agreement signed with Altaci in the Port of Los Angeles for our first project there. And just 2 weeks ago, we announced that we received the last federal license that we needed from the Corps of Engineers in order to actually go ahead and construct the project. So Shell is our partner. They're funding 50% of the project. Same like with EDF, Shell is a huge company with large impact. So of course, we can also use the project in the Port of LA to leverage and achieve additional projects. Then in the same time, we're building the first project in Asia, which will be in Taiwan with Lian Tat, which is a large marine engineering company. And our first project in Portugal is actually the project that we're right now leading independently, because EcoWave Power really wants to own and operate the first grid-connected commercial wave energy power station in the world. And we believe this project will really be a significant breakthrough to the whole industry, because in the project so far, we showed that wave energy doesn't have to be expensive, that it's reliable, that it's easily connected to the grid. But when you're building a commercial scale project, we can also show profitability. And I think this is key for the breakthrough of wave power to be part of the world's renewable energy mix.
Okay. Awesome stuff there. And I'll tell you, you're talking right now to a group of active market participants. So to hear that you're not diluting the investors, that is definitely a plus. Got a really good question here from one of the viewers here, if you wouldn't mind. Is there any plans for units in the open sea, or are you pretty much just focusing on shoreline locations?
So we're not exactly on shoreline. Of course, we don't take any prime real estate. We don't take beachfront properties and so on. We connect to existing structure, which is sometimes called onshore, sometimes it's called near shore. So it's breakwaters, piers, and jetties. As to offshore, we did a feasibility study for Chevron, and we did a feasibility study for Shell for connecting to offshore oil and gas drilling platforms. So that's definitely a niche market that we can pursue, because there's a high need of energy on these platforms. And right now it's usually produced by diesel, which is both polluting and very, very expensive. I do believe that learning from wind industry, which is a renewable energy that became very, very successful over time, the beginning has to be easy, simple, and cost efficient. And with the wind industry, from the moment that the first onshore windmill was built, it took 100 years for the wind industry to start building in the offshore, like in the middle of the ocean. Because offshore, it's more expensive, it's more complicated. Wave energy kind of took the wrong, I would say, had the wrong beginning in the world, because wave energy, for some reason, decided to start where it's complicated and expensive, which is in the middle of the ocean. So I'm kind of more a believer of pursuing what wind did successfully, starting on the onshore where it's simple and easy, and then when we're strong financially, we're strong in terms of supply chain and technologically, then we will go into the offshore as well.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And that would make a lot of sense as a stockholder as well. So, okay, really good stuff there. Another question here from one of our viewers. Are you worried about Chinese-Taiwan tensions regarding any part of your infrastructure at all? And I would actually expand on that. This viewer is mentioning China-Taiwan, but are you worried about any type of global or macro environment really kind of disrupting what you're doing?
Listen, to be honest, I would say that I believe that technology has no borders, and in the end of the day, it doesn't matter of the conflicts. Everybody wants to have renewable energy in place.
Absolutely.
So Taiwan right now is in a dire need for renewable energy, or for any energy for that part, because they're doing the semiconductors industries, which is critical for the AI business. So definitely Taiwan is a big market for us. But even with the tension in China, it's important for me to say, while we work with Taiwan, we also have a subsidiary that is located in China, which received funding from the government of China. So there is interest for good technology everywhere.
Okay, awesome. And then one more thing here. I know that this is on the top of the top of minds a lot about anything in the energy business. Excuse me. Renewable energy sector is often subject to policy shifts and regulatory changes. How does Wave navigate these uncertainties, and how does that affect your financial projections and your growth strategy?
So really policies and regulation are critical for commercialization, especially of innovative technologies. We're not at the point that wind and solar and other kind of, I would say, older and more traditional renewable energy technologies are, where kind of, the price of their system started decreasing significantly. So the government started changing, like removing their supportive policies and removing supportive tariffs and so on. Right now, EcoWave Power is kind of where solar and wind was 20 and 30 years ago in terms of the policies and the prices. Like most governments, they understand that they cannot supply 100% clean electricity to their citizens solely with wind and solar. So they want wave energy to commercialize. So they're actually giving very supportive legislation and policies. For example, just recently, Governor Newsom in California signed law that's called Senate Bill 605 for support of wave energy. And Congresswoman Nanette Barragán wants to appropriate $1 billion in funding to wave energy as a federal legislation. So basically, right now we're seeing very, very positive shift in legislation and a very positive kind of recognition for wave energy on a global scale. And we hope it continues. But with that said, for me, it's also very important to say that we never built our technology to be dependent on subsidies. So even right now, at the current prices that are for solar and for wind in any of the locations that we work, we would still be cost efficient and profitable.
Okay, that's really tremendous as well. Okay, and then last year, I want to say, as you expand into new key markets, what are the key considerations that you take into account when selecting a new region for development? What challenges are you facing when you're trying to expand?
So when selecting new regions of development, we're looking at first of all, for us, the most relevant is the wave energy potential and the structures that are suitable in that location. Other than that, of course, we're looking at the supportive policies and what is the legislation, what is the regulation, how long will it take us to get from, an initial agreement to an actual power station up and running. That's kind of what we look at. Right now, our core focus is really on European market, because in Europe you have already a lot of grants and subsidies and support for wave energy specifically. They kind of started developing it early on. We're definitely very much focused in the US market. We're even opening offices now in Florida, in Miami. We're having the new power station coming in the port of Los Angeles, and we are in discussions with additional locations in the United States, because we see that the momentum in the US is very, very strong, and we really believe that what happens big in the United States will be big everywhere, because all the eyes are towards success stories in the United States. And right now we also started penetrating the Asian market with our Taiwanese project.
Okay, that is absolutely tremendous. Ina Braverman, CEO of Wave Power, that's ticker WAVE on the NASDAQ. Ina, thank you so much for joining us here this morning. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
No problem. Take care. Thank you, folks. Awesome stuff there. Again, that is Eco Wave Power Global. The ticker is Wave, WAVE. Easy for me to say. Love all of the renewable energy things that are coming. This one sounds awesome. And I love that they've really kind of taken a view of not wanting to dilute shareholders and really kind of thinking about expansion plans and all of that. So really, really good stuff. Shout out to the group here for coming up with some questions here. Really exciting stuff. Okay.